May these words and all of our hearts be carried on the wings of the Spirit. Amen. It's great to be back. I miss it when I'm not here on Sunday mornings. So I was just, as I was, participating in this great celebration of life here this morning, I felt really moved, and felt like what an honor and a privilege it is to be a part of this community doing what we're doing. So it's great to be here. So this passage this morning may just be the most problematic passage in the entire New Testament, right? Did you pick up on that? It makes it a little difficult for Jesus-loving Christians to figure out what's exactly going on with their leader. It portrays Jesus in a most unflattering light, an ethnocentric light, to be exact. What I mean by that is Jesus is crystal clear that his mission is to his own people. Read, not the Gentiles. Jesus has gone northwest to the coast. Perhaps he's there for a little R&R. He's just heard that his mentor, John the Baptist, has been beheaded. Who wouldn't need a little R&R after that news? And it's time to regroup, refocus. What is his mission? Is he going to carry on? What's he going to do? And maybe he just doesn't want to be bothered while he's on his break. Who knows? I know how that feels. Perhaps this explains his apparent grumpiness. We all have our off days. However, there is a distinct possibility that it's more than that. When the Syro-Phoenician woman approaches him with a request to heal his daughter, he may actually have wanted no part in dealing with her precisely because she's a foreigner. The conversation doesn't cast Jesus in divine light at first take. This is why most scholars assume that the passage is historically accurate, because otherwise, they could have edited it out, but it probably actually happened, and so they had to leave it in. And here's what Jesus says, if you didn't catch it. Jesus said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." Yikes. The children, you realize, are his own people, the Jews, and the Gentiles are the dogs. I mean, here's a woman asking. Actually, the text says she was begging him to heal her daughter. And this is Jesus' first retort. So we have some work to do here. Why this story, I think, is so difficult for us to grasp is that Jesus has historically been presented as God in human form. So can God have an off day? And then beginning in the 19th century, theologians started to notice inconsistencies in the various accounts of Jesus' life. And they realized that the Gospels were interpretations of Jesus' life. And some of the sayings didn't originate with Jesus, but originated with them. In any case, what happened in this is that the humanity of Jesus began to be emphasized over the divinity. But even as a human being, Jesus was presented as a kind of uber-human, as one that was certainly more evolved than the rest of us. We were trying to be like him, after all. But here, whether Jesus is fully divine or fully human, in this passage, Jesus comes off as a bit of a xenophobe, doesn't he? Someone who dislikes foreign people, their cultures, and their customs. And so the foreign mother challenges Jesus. She says, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Jesus is impressed. We're not told what exactly turned him around. Maybe it was her humility. Maybe he learned something from her willingness to put all those ethnic rivalries behind her and come to a foreigner, a Jew, and ask for help. Perhaps it was her vulnerability that made Jesus take stock here. We're not told. But even if that's the case, you see the problem, don't you, implicit in this possibility. It suggests that Jesus wasn't fully realized as a human being. That he had growing to do. That his was an evolutionary journey, like your journey and my journey. And the question is this kind of thinking even compatible with Christian faith? And this is going to require just a little bit of theology. So, I'll be gentle. The first point we need to make is that being a Christian is not the same necessarily as believing that Jesus is God's only Son. And to understand this, we need to make a distinction between Jesus and Christ. Christ is not Jesus' last name, like sanguine is my last name. It's a title. It's a translation from the Hebrew word for Messiah into Greek, Christos. It means the anointed one. And in the Bible, prophets, kings, priests are anointed to do a specific job for God and the people on behalf of the people. And many of our Jewish friends are still awaiting for the anointed one, for the Messiah. But over the centuries, Christians identified Jesus as the one and only Messiah. But what if we expand the notion of the Christ or the Messiah beyond a human being? What if we were to suggest that it was like force or power, or to get more mathematical, like an algorithm, a pattern that's laid down at the beginning of creation, emanating from Creator's very being, flowing from the Creator. This is like a divine pattern that's going to play itself out, repeat itself at every level over vast expanses of time, at the geological, the biological, at the human level, cultural, spiritual. This algorithm is going to be repeated at a level that's consistent and appropriate for those various levels of being. The prologue of John's Gospel helps us here. Remember that? In the beginning was the Word, or the Logos. And the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God, and the Logos, or the Christos, was fully present in Jesus of Nazareth, and Jesus was the light of all human beings. And so what animated Jesus, and what made him so unique, such an unrepeatable expression as a human being, was his openness to this divine pattern that had been laid down 13.7 billion years ago, and Jesus had a radical openness, a transparency to Logos, to Christos. People saw he's the anointed one, because all these powers, all these cosmic powers are located in him, and we can see it being worked out in and through him. This Logos, this creative, ordering principle. And you know, what we're experimenting here with the Canadian Memorial is the possibility, and all of this is experimentation, right? We don't have to get hung up and believe, is this literally true? We don't know. We're playing with this possibility.